What is going on, Guardians? Evade here and welcome back to Destiny Guides. Today was the reveal for Forsaken and I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty crazy and we got a lot of information to dive through. So let's first begin with what we can make out from the story. They did make it clear that during that reveal they weren't going to talk about story, and that is for E3 next week. So here's a little summary of what we can gather from what we've seen in their Vidoc. So it seems like the story is going to take place near or around the Prison of Elders. They tell us that Cade has been filling the prison with all these bad guys, and it starts with a giant prison break pretty much.
Start a story than to start it with a prison break.
Right.
Cade's been filling this prison with bad guys that are really bad, and so when it breaks, things can happen to all the world.
So one of the first places we're going to visit is called the Tangled Shore. This location is around the reef and it's pretty cool because it's basically just strings of asteroid and debris. So it seems like the main enemy for this expansion is something called the Scorn. Now to me this seems to be some type of variant of the Fallen. They look very Fallen-esque, but they have many different types of capabilities. They said they'll push you around, they're very brutal, and they even have different ranks or positions for their characters.
Guys.
It's become a lawless place. It truly is a frontier. It's completely taken over.
The most malevolent force there is the Scorn. They're very aggressive. They're always going to charge and push you.
So one example of this is this guy right here. This guy is called the Baron and he's basically at the top of the Scorn leadership. So what they call this is a Baron hunt. We're basically hunting down these escaped prisoners, and there seems to be many different kinds of them. For example, one with snipers, some that just push you around with melee abilities, things like that. So besides that, there is a description on the Destiny the Game site of this expansion itself. Here's what it says. Following years of strife, what remains of the reef has fallen to lawlessness. You and Cade 6 are sent to personally investigate the recent unrest. Upon arrival, you soon discover the most wanted criminals in the Prison of Elders have organized an escape. Beyond the Vanguard's authority, you'll pursue these fugitives deep into the reef. Explore new regions, awaken new powers, earn powerful weapons, and uncover long-lost Awoken secrets. The hunt is on. So other than that, we don't know much. We know we're going to the reef, we know we're fighting these enemies called the Scorn, some type of variant of the Fallen, and Cade 6 is a big part of this expansion. We can see on the cover image, we see his Ace of Spades hand cannon, and what may be him at the top of the screen there. So that's just a brief summary going over the Vidoc. If you'd like to see another video of that in depth, let me know down below, but let's get to everything else. So next up on the list is weapon slot changes. Now this is pretty huge. This basically allows you to customize the first two weapon slots any way you want. So if you wanted to, you can run any activity with 3 shotguns.
Easy. Why not 3 shotguns, right? Just for the fun of it.
So that's definitely something that's pretty cool, customizing the game the way you want to play. And if you want it to be that crazy and be that annoying dude with 3 shotguns, you can do that if you wish. Now possibly one of the biggest and most exciting bits of news is there's going to be new supers and new subclass paths. So here are some crazy examples of what those may be. The first one is a hunter one where you throw flaming knives.
Fire knives are awesome, which is a different take on Golden Gun.
We took a lot of inspiration from Rise of Iron. Cast that thing. You got a huge hammer now, and you slam that thing down, and it sends out this fire in front of you that then creates a fire tornado.
I'm in love with the new Void Warlock teleportation that's like super anime, just like We've
been having great games with the Arc Warlock.
Basically cast this thing, he pulls back. Yeah, and it's gonna break the game, and I think that's amazing, yeah. You know?
Up next, we're getting a new weapon type, and this thing is a freaking bow. So when you think of Destiny, you always think of like, hey, automatic space weapons, you know, you're using sniper rifles, shotguns, but now they're adding a bow into the game, which looks pretty fun. So you would think the bow isn't as powerful as, you know, a gun, but that's definitely not the case. This thing is very impactful, and you can definitely see that in the gameplay here. Headshots that send enemies flying, and it looks pretty fun to use. Now we move on to the big new mode that the players of the Destiny Community Summit got to play like a month or so ago. So this new mode is called Gambit, and it basically combines PvE and PvP activities. So when you first spawn, you can see the enemy team, you know, other Guardians right across from you, which is pretty cool. You know, throw up some emotes and taunt them a bit. You then get sent into your own arenas where you fight PvE bosses and have to complete certain tasks. So on each side there's this thing called a bank. Killing enemies will drop motes, and then you can put these into the bank, and this will send a blocker to the team of other guardians in the other arena. This basically stops them from using their bank, and they won't be able to put motes in it until they take out that enemy. So you may be like, okay, what's the point of the bank? Why would I need to fill it up with motes? Well, you need to fill this up and get to the max to spawn one of the end bosses here. Once you kill the enemy, that's it, it ends the round. But the interesting thing is that some type of portal opens and you can send one of your guardians to the other side and mess with the enemy team and take them out. So this is combining the PvE and PvP elements, and it's definitely an interesting game mode.
Kills, they'll come back and they'll be like, suck it! It's awesome.
So that is the new mode called Gambit. It's going to be playable at E3 and I believe Guardian Con in the next month. And this will be its own node on the director next to Crucible, Vanguard Strikes, and then, its own little logo will be up there with those. The next thing Bungie talked about was the raid in a place called the Dreaming City. This is with the Awoken homeworld and where they came from. Now, it's pretty much everything you can ever want from a Destiny location and a raid. There's secrets to explore, hidden areas, and this place is going to evolve week after week. It's not going to be the same, one doorway that was there before might not be there in the next week, so there might be secrets behind it just waiting to be found.
It is magical and weird and mysterious.
It's designed to be a destination that has puzzles that you need to solve.
A lot of hidden corners, lots of passageways that might not seem to exist the first time.
And the raiders, they affect this destination. They change it for everyone.
It's like this cyclical endgame place where there's just secrets and different activities that unveil over time.
So the Dreaming City that you see at launch is not going to be the same Dreaming City 2-3 weeks later.
So that was basically every feature covered in that Vidoc. Hopefully it's summarized nicely for you, but let's go over some things you may have missed and some other things I talked about in the live stream. So on Destiny the game, the website, they updated everything. It talks about this expansion, the Gambit, all the information we went over in the last couple of minutes here, and it also shows you some additions you can purchase for the expansion. The first one is just the expansion itself, which is going to be $40. The middle version is Destiny 2 Forsaken plus the annual pass, which we'll talk about in a second, and this is going to be $70. And the last one is the Destiny 2 Digital Deluxe Edition for Forsaken, which is $80. So they described this annual pass in the live stream, and here's what that is. So what this includes is content releases after Forsaken, the year after that. So you have Black Armor in the winter, Joker's Wild in the spring, and Penumbra in the summer of 2019. They did make this very clear that it's not some type of expansion. So it's not like you're focusing on a specific story like Curse of Osiris or Warmind, but rather it improves and is going to add to the Destiny 2 experience. So this will include things like endgame changes, new weapons and armor, vanity items, new and returning exotics, new pinnacle activities, new triumph records to collect, and new lore to discover. So each release is going to begin a new season of play with exclusive rewards for the people who have this annual pass. So the way they made it seem like is that it's still going to have story, but you're going to find that through gameplay rather than cinematics. So they told us they'd describe this more in the future, obviously, because it was just the reveal for Forsaken, but that's what the annual pass is. So here's what it includes in the Digital Deluxe Edition. You get a Wraith Majestic Legendary Bow Ornament, a Paladin Emblem, Vestian Ghost Shell, and Fireteam Medallions. This also includes the annual pass and everything included in the game and expansion. Next, let's talk about the updated roadmap they showed off in the live stream. So the two tabs that were updated here is the July update Solstice of Heroes, and then of course the Year 2 with Forsaken. So you can see all the things included in the Solstice of Heroes, the new seasonal event 6v6 quick play, a permanent rumble playlist, bounties, raid layers, and some other quality of life changes. Now here's everything described in the Forsaken release. You got gear collections, in-game triumphs, weapon slot changes, weapon randomization, mod system updates, bulk shader deletion, which is a huge one right there. You got new Crucible modes, 4 new Crucible maps, 200 additional vault slots, in-game lore, new bounties, and Power Matters and Iron Banner and Trials. That's a freaking mouthful. So Bungie did show off a couple of these changes within the live stream. An example of this is the gear collections, which can be seen right here. Now keep in mind everything's a work in progress, as they stated a bunch of times, but you can kind of see how it's going to work. If you have an exotic, it'll appear here. Let's say you dismantle it, you can pick it up through here, and this will also show you everything you're missing. So if you're trying to collect everything, the collections tab is definitely going to help you out. But Guardians, there you have it. That was his summary of the whole live stream and all the features Bungie explained throughout. Now, of course, I'm sure I missed a bunch of minor details like certain weapons coming back or various things like that, but if I did miss something that you're excited about, leave a timestamp down below and I'll check it out. Anyway, please be sure to like this video up if you enjoyed and subscribe to the channel for some more awesome Destiny 2 news and entertainment. Anyway, my name's Evade and I'll catch you Guardians in the next one.